Here's what I want you to get, just as we're getting started with this. It takes a lot of courage to live your life. You are way more courageous than you give yourself credit for. Some of you guys, you're facing your past and you're facing temptation, but you showed up here and you're walking it out anyway. My friend, congratulations. It takes a lot of courage to be you. That's why we're trying to encourage you with this series called Courageous Living. Now, today we're going to talk about the courage to be able to trust God even in the dark days. Now, everybody in our life, we go through periods of time when we feel like we're walking in the dark, right? Times when it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn. It seems like God is not paying attention, and this isn't working. I don't know what to do. So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit today. So I'm going to encourage you somewhat to be able to walk out the darkness. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a flashlight guy. Any other flashlight guys here? Come on, hit me. I got flashlights everywhere. I really do. You got flashlights everywhere, right, Riley? Yeah. And so what it is that, so we don't want to be caught in the dark, right? That's how it works. All flashlight guys, help me out, come on, right? We don't want to be caught in the dark, so we got flashlight. I mean, I literally have them everywhere. Matter of fact, I am such a flashlight guy, I don't even trust my phone flashlight. I don't trust it. I don't trust it, because, but I have flashlights in every vehicle. Matter of fact, some I have 3 or 4 flashlights in the same vehicle, just in case I have passengers, But now the reason I'm a flashlight guy is not because I'm this super great guy. It's just I grew up in a world where the electricity got shut off like all the time. you just learn to live with it. Come on, don't tell me you guys have never experienced that, right? It's like, hey, the lights don't work. Well, but anyway, and here's what I found out. I do way better in the light than I do in the dark. I do way better in the light, right? How many guys know what I'm talking about? When it's dark, I don't do so good. Matter of fact, I hate this time of year because it gets dark so early. Matter of fact, even last night, we were coming back from a wedding. It's like, my God, how late is it? It's 5:30. You mean it's not 10? And so, but anyway, I'm a light kind of guy. Now, I thought about this. I've been in situations, someplace at night where I thought, hey, this place is pretty nice. And you go back the next day and go, ew, this is nasty, right? Anybody been there? And I've also convinced myself that I can function in the dark, only to find out I can't. Don't have any friends. Okay? So now watch this. Tell you a story. When Loretta and I first got married, we lived literally in the middle of nowhere. I mean, literally in the middle. I mean, it was 53 miles to the closest town. To the closest town. That town had 347 people in it. You had to drive 21 miles of dirt road to get to our house. Now, the reason I say all that, a vacuum cleaner salesman found our house. That is one dedicated salesman. Think about it. It's like, wow. I mean, you almost felt obligated just because he worked so hard to get there, Like, oh, okay. So anyway, so this vacuum cleaner salesman convinced us to buy a $500 vacuum cleaner. And I was only making $5 an hour at the time. It was a really long time ago. So we bought the Electrolux Deluxe. How many guys ever heard of the Electrolux Deluxe? Just the old people, okay. Don't take it personal, And so this is a pretty cool machine. It would do everything except pick up the kids from school. It was a really nice vacuum cleaner. And the guy told us it would last like 30 years. It's just a really good vacuum. So anyway, it came with like 30 different attachments. And the attachments would plug into the end of the hose. It had the steel tube, and you plug all the attachments in. I think it like painted a car and everything else. This is pretty cool stuff. No, I'm serious. I mean, it did some cool stuff. So over the years, Loretta learned that if you took the attachment off, she could use just the steel tube, and she could get the little corners of stuff. How many ladies are like meticulous like that? It's just get right to the corner. So she was doing that. So now we're going to fast forward a few years. I'm working the night shift, and I'm getting home around midnight. My family is fast asleep, and because I'm a smart husband, I'm not waking nobody up. Gentlemen, you need to learn from that. Sleeping people are quiet people, okay? And so I'm slipping into my dark home while my loved ones are sleeping. I pass through the dark living room, pass right by the dark dining area, and I'm making my way down the dark hallway. I don't need a light. It's my house. I know where I'm going. I know this place like the back of my hand. Now, unbeknownst to me, Loretta had been using the Electrolux Deluxe. and I found it in the hallway with my naked toe. And the steel tube sliced my naked toe wide open. Yeah, you see, you feel bad for me, right? So I plummeted to the ground and let out the scream of a wounded wildebeest. Ah, everybody's up, the lights are all on. So now here's where I'm going with this idea, right? Now, what we do is, because how many of us have tried to navigate the dark days of life and got ourselves messed up in the process? See, what happens is we don't know, so we just kind of guess at it, just try to, and see, that's how we get hurt. So it's those unknown things. That's how we get battered and bruised, and that's how we get our hearts broken. That's where we make these huge mistakes, and we're trying to make up for it, okay? Now, what I'm saying is oftentimes when we go through those dark places and we find the Electrolux Deluxe in the dark hallway, because it hurts, the normal knee-jerk reaction is to create some distance. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? We create some distance. And the greater the pain, the greater the distance. Okay? Now, when we would have this conversation, we would say, well, you know what? It's just my survival skills, and I'm just trying to guard my heart. I have trust issues, or I just build walls. Well, the Bible calls it something completely different. The Bible calls it a hard heart. Now, I'm not trying to get on you. Just watch this. In order for us to survive the tough stuff of life, in order for us to continue, there's parts of us where we harden our heart to be able to function. Am I talking to you right? When you're going through really, really tough days, that distance, that's how we harden our heart. And so now God looks at it in a completely different way, because God thinks, rather than our survival skill, God thinks that we're captives by fear and torment. So that's why it takes a lot of courage to trust God when you're walking through dark days. Okay, so we're going to revisit the story of Lazarus here for just a moment. And so Jesus shows up, and it's verse 39, and he asks them to take away the stone. And Martha, Lazarus' sister, makes this statement. Here's what she said. She said, by this time there was a stench because he's been dead for 4 days. Now listen, guys, listen. When you're going through those dark times, the longer it goes, the more hopeless it seems. 4 days of disappointment, 4 days of sorrow, 4 days of doubt, right? And so that's when our faith begins to decay, when our hope begins to decay. That's when it's really hard for us to have any kind of idea that this is going to get better. And sometimes what we do, we resolve ourselves to, I'm always going to live the life where I keep people at a distance. I'm always going to live the life where I have to guard my heart and not trust anybody. I'm always going to live the life where I have to keep the walls up just for me to survive. Well, I think God's got a better plan. So now because of that, because we're just not sure anymore, because we're not sure if we trust anybody, we use what I'm going to call the Nicodemus approach. Everybody say Nicodemus. That's just a cool name. I just like saying it. So we're going to talk about Nick here for just a minute, right? So the Nicodemus approach. So now what happens is when we get to places where we're just not sure, we just don't trust people. We maybe don't even trust ourselves. Anybody been to the place where you don't trust yourself? Because I know I've struggled with my temper all my life. Anybody struggle with temper issues? I know if I bring it up, you just get mad. And so here's what I'm saying. So when we're just not sure, we just don't trust the situation. What we do is, in order to keep from really anybody looking too close, is we walk in the dark places. So watch this. It's in John chapter 3 and verse 1, Nicodemus. So it was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, the ruler of the Jews. So get this. This guy, he goes to church. He sings the song. He knows the scriptures. He does all the functions. He's doing all the right things, but here's the problem. It's not working. And see, I think that happens to us a lot. Where we go through, we're doing all the right stuff, and we're saying all the right stuff, and we know the songs, and we have church friends, and we're showing all that. But sometimes we get to a place where, you know what, it just doesn't seem like it's working. Am I talking to anybody yet? So I'm really, really trying to make this work, but it's like, it doesn't seem to be getting better. And so in these situations, now we're going to get down to verse 2. It says, so this man came to Jesus by night. Here's what I see in Nicodemus. The religious system that he was a part of didn't seem to be working for him. The lifestyle that he had got himself built up around, the way that he always did things, it stopped working. And when it stops working, we go looking for something different. But because he's not sure, Because he's been burned a few times. He's like, I'm going to go check out, see if this Jesus thing is what they say it's all about. I'm going to go to church and just see how this works out because my system's not working, right? And so as one of the religious leaders, you would think that he's got this stuff worked out. But he doesn't. Now, I know a bunch of Nicodemus people that they try to do the spiritual stuff and still hang on to the shadowy stuff. And it gets messy. Everybody say messy. Anybody know anybody with some messy stuff going on? Do they wear your clothes? Just wondering. Okay. So what happens? Everything seems to be going fine until you find the Electrolux Deluxe in the dark hallway. And you get wounded in the dark. And your system isn't working anymore. And so what happens is, like Nicodemus, we step into the darkness looking for light. But here's what I'm saying. When we insist on walking through the darkness, isn't that how we get hurt? Isn't that where we make the mistakes? Isn't that where we just have these huge issues? It really doesn't work. So it takes a lot of courage to trust God in those dark days, right? All right, so now some people say that Nicodemus just didn't want his friends to know. That's why he went in the nighttime. I wonder if maybe Nicodemus was afraid that Jesus wasn't who he said he was. But here's something to think about. During that period of time, there were a lot of guys that everybody thought, this is the one, this is the guy, this is the answer. Can I get real personal? Sometimes people that are looking for relationships say, this is the one, this is it. But what happened to Nicodemus, and I'm thinking what happens to a lot of us, we find out that's not the one. It comes crashing down. We get burned, we get lied about, or something happens, or we come home one day and go, right? And we get burned. So in order for us to survive, we create the distance. In order for us to survive, we create the distance, and we live life in the shadows to protect our heart, to guard ourselves, right? And so I think Nicodemus had come across the Electrolux Deluxe a few times. Anybody had their heart broken at least once? Anybody been lied to a few times? Yeah, you ever just kind of give yourself all out there and found out it was only one-sided? Am I talking to the right people? Okay. See, that's the Electrolux Deluxe. That's when you shank your toe on the steel tube that Loretta left in the hallway. Thank you very much. So what happens is that's when we go in the dark because we're honestly just not sure. We're just not sure. So this time he doesn't want to get his hopes up. So he walks into the darkness looking for light. And it doesn't go well. Okay, so with this in mind, he gets close to Jesus, and the first thing he says is, you know what? I heard you're the guy. I heard you're the guy. I heard that Jesus is the right answer. Now, he expects to have a conversation about like eternal stuff and heaven, that kind of stuff. And then Jesus opens up with this oddball conversation. He goes, you must be born again. Now, Nicodemus, I mean, he would take it the way I would take it. He's like, I'm a big dude, mama's a little chick, this is not going to happen. He goes, that just sounds like stupid, right? What are you talking about? He goes, no. He goes, you're talking about the physical birth. He said, I'm talking about a spiritual birth. Here's what he's trying to say. Nicodemus, here's the problem. The system that you've been using, you're trying to fix all this stuff out here without dealing with the darkness in here. In order to fix all this stuff out here, the first thing that needs to happen is the dead places in you need to be brought back to life. Am I getting through? So they have this conversation that progresses, and so this conversation leads us to probably the most recognizable verse in all of Scripture, John 3:16. Most of us know John 3:16. Matter of fact, you talk to little kids, what's your favorite verse in the Bible? 90% of the time they'll say John 3:16. For the gospel of the word, I mean, they would just kind of go that. Right? So we love that verse. I love that verse, John 3:16. But if it's okay, give me a little bit of time. I want to listen into the conversation between Nicodemus and Jesus just a little bit longer. Has anybody ever listened to somebody and caught the wrong thing out of a conversation? Come on, because you didn't listen close enough or you didn't listen to it all. Oh, did you hear? And so I'm going to listen a little bit longer. So let's look at this. John 3:16 is where we're going to start. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. I like that. I like that. In verse 17, for God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but the world through him might be saved. See, God's plan is not to judge you. God's plan is to save you. Save you from what? Yourself. right? Now let's keep reading. Verse 18. He who believes in him is not condemned, not judged, but he who does not believe is condemned already. You're judging yourself, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. Now verse 19 is really where I want to get with this. And this is the condemnation. I'm going to change the words around a little bit. This is actually the problem. That the light has come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. Okay, so let's unpack. We all want the life that verse 16 offers. We all want that. But there's the problem of verse 19. And the problem, here's the deal. We're afraid of being exposed. We're afraid of showing too much. We're afraid of people finding out too much. We're afraid of the mask coming off. We're afraid that our scars might show. We're afraid of our insecurities might pop up. So what we do, just like Nicodemus, we kind of hide in the shadows a little bit, hoping nobody's going to look too close, right? We hope that. Because we assume that if the light is shown on us, we assume we're going to be judged. And that's why Jesus is saying the condemnation, the judgment is in the dark. The judgment is not in the light. We're looking at this completely wrong, right? So it takes a lot of courage to trust God during the dark days. That's why I'm talking about this. So we get in those places where we feel like, you know what? I'm walking in the dark. Where's God? I can't see him. I can't feel him. I don't know what's going on. And I'm going to just get right down on your level. Sometimes the honest truth is we have doubts about God. Did you know that it's okay to have doubts about God? Sometimes we get to the place where we say, I don't even know if I believe in God. Because sometimes our faith isn't working. Sometimes because we've tried all this spiritual stuff. That's what Nicodemus is doing. He goes, look, I tried that. I don't feel like my life's getting any better. So we have realistic doubts. And sometimes we feel like it is dark. That's why it takes a lot of courage to be walking us out in the dark. See, I don't know what it is to be you. I don't know how dark your life is. I don't know what kind of days you're going through. I don't know what your relationship status is. I don't know if your family's in turmoil. I don't know if you're struggling even with your own faith. Whether God's even there or not. I don't know. I don't know how dark it is. Sometimes it's really big stuff, but sometimes the stuff we keep in the shadows is really little stuff. Because we just don't want anybody to know, because we're afraid people would take advantage of us. Am I talking to you? So because we're afraid people are going to take advantage of our weakness, take advantage of our scars, take advantage of our insecurities, we take the Nicodemus approach, and we come at night. We hide in the shadows. We're looking for light while walking in the dark. See, when Lazarus was resurrected, it said that they rolled the stone away, and there was just enough light to expose the dead man, but not enough light for him to live again. So Jesus, the light of the world, steps to the edge of the darkness, peers into the place where the light is barely getting, and speaks light. A light so bright that the deadest things could no longer stay dead. See, we're afraid that when Jesus steps and he looks, we're afraid he's going to judge us. And he said, no, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to release you. I'm here to break the chains off you. I'm here to get that condemnation up. I'm here to give you life, not to judge you for the things you've done wrong. I know that you're broken. I know that things are going on. I know that things haven't worked out. I know that you've maybe tried to walk this faith out and it didn't work. Stop condemning yourself and step into the light. You know what the honest truth is? Sometimes we are way harder on us than God is. So, well, I know I'm not living right. Well, geez, that's a secret, right? You know, I'm not perfect. Well, I've been carrying a list. You want to see it? He's not here to expose you. He's here to set you free. That's what the light is about. Some of you guys might be experienced enough to remember camera film. Anybody remember camera film? You're laughing at me. Stop laughing at me. Oh, Pastor Dave, where'd you get that? In the museum? I hate you people. No, and back in the day, that's what it was. So what you do is you would go into a place and you'd kind of have to hide a little bit because you don't want, and you'd open up your camera and you put your film in and you close it up, then you would kind of step back out of the light. And whenever you saw an image that you wanted to capture, you point your camera at it, you click the button, and for a millisecond, don't get to use that word often, I like doing that. For a millisecond, the shutter would open up and it would allow the image that was outside to get inside. Then after that image was inside, when you finished up your roll of film, you would take your film to a photo lab. And they would develop the image that you had on the inside. And the image that was on the inside, now everybody could see outside. I know this sounds like really a crazy idea, but you honestly had no idea what the picture looked like until days later. Come on now, I need some friends. You guys remember this stuff? He's like, oh man, my thumb was over the lens. Oh my gosh. Or come back and go, whoa, I didn't know that was in the background. I have to throw that one away. Oh my God, look at her house. But isn't that the way life is sometimes? We go through life, and the images of what we've been through get inside. Anybody got anything inside? And it is deposited on the film of our life, on the film of our heart, and it's there. And when it's there for too long, what happens is that it begins to develop. And what's on the inside one day shows up on the outside for everybody to see, and then life comes crashing down. That's how we get messed up. So what if, see, with the images on this film, how do you get rid of the image? What if there was a way where you could take every image that was deposited on the inside that was messing you up and tripping you up and causing you problems and make you afraid and cause you to hide? What if we could take every image and completely get rid of it? Would that be great? What if we could take everything that you've been through, everything you experienced, and here's what I know. I know that there's people here that you've suffered abuse, you've suffered heartache, you've had bad relationships. Maybe you've made huge mistakes. What if it was possible to take that and completely wipe it away? Is that possible? Back to the film. Did you know that there's a way that whatever image is deposited on this film, I can magically make it to where nothing is on this film? Did you know there's a way? So what do? If you want what's on this film to go away, you expose it to the sun. As soon as the light of the sun hits the film, everything on the film goes away. Here's what I'm saying. We take the image that is deposited on our hearts and in our life. We expose it to the Son of God, and the light from the Son of God shines onto the film of our heart and wipes everything away where it's not there. You can take it to the photo lab of criticism. You can say, hey, did you see anything? He said, no, there's nothing on the film anymore, my friends. That's how grace works. That's how light works. That's how forgiveness works. It takes what is deposited on us and makes it as if it never happened ever. Now, my friends, that's the grace of God in your life. So what happens in our lives? We are convinced that if we expose ourselves to the light, we're convinced we'll be judged. My friend, you could not be further from the truth. You won't be judged, you'll be cleansed. If I rolled this back up in the case and I took it to the photo lab and I told the guy, hey, develop the picture, and he'd come back and say, there's nothing on there. Well, can you even tell me what was on there? No, I have no idea. There's not even a hint. There's absolutely nothing there. It's been wiped clean forever. I can't even remember what you took a picture of. That's God's grace. That's the light. It's not here to judge you. It's here to set you free. Could I get you guys to bow your heads and close your eyes for just a moment, please? Listen, friends. Like I said earlier, I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what the dark days hold. I don't know what's going on. But I know that when you show it to the light of the Son of God, He takes the brokenness, He takes the image, He takes the process, and He wipes it away and casts our sin as far as the east is from the west, never to be remembered again. So if you're sitting here this morning and you're afraid to be exposed, you're afraid to be found out, you're afraid to talk about stuff, something that has happened to you, something that you've done, something that's gone on. I think there's some people here that you've suffered some horrible abuse, and you wear a smile as a disguise. And my friend, that abuse is still there. You still wrestle with that. You take some failure and say, you know what, I don't know if I could ever get back to where I was. You allow that to become your identity. My friend, that's not who God made you. So while every head is bowed, everybody's eyes are closed here for just a moment. If you feel like I've been talking to you, I'm not going to expose you, but we're going to pray for you. But if that's you, just slip your hand up real quick and right back down, just real quick. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Hands all over this room. Thank you. My friend, don't be afraid of the light. Anybody else? This is real serious. You've been wrestling with something. There's been something that has gotten on the inside and you can't seem to shake it. Matter of fact, you've even looked at yourself and you said, you know what? Something's wrong. I'm slipping. Something's not going good. I'm trying to fake it and act like everything is okay, but it's not okay. If that describes you, just slip your hand up real quick and right back down. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Could y'all stand this morning, please? See, that's what God does. At this point, there is absolutely nothing you can do to retrieve any image off of this film at all. Absolutely nothing. You could call the FBI. They could find Hillary's emails and it would still not find the pictures on here. I'm sorry, that wasn't okay. It's funny though, it's funny. See, my friends, the light that He shines on you, it's not judgment. It's not judgment. There's not a person in this room that hasn't taken a few missteps. There's a bunch of us in this room, we've found the Electrolux Deluxe. You know what I'm talking about? Walking through the dark, ching, down you go. That's how grace works. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to pray. I heard somebody say earlier this week, well, prayer is not enough. Then obviously you don't know how to pray. Because I know that Elijah prayed and it stopped raining. And he prayed again and the heavens gave rain. I know that people prayed and the dead were raised up. The deaf ears were opened. Blinded eyes began to see. I know that sickness went away. And I know that people's lives were changed. Do not ever underestimate the power of prayer. And never underestimate the power of your prayer. My friend, your prayer is just as strong as my prayer. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Whatever image has been deposited on the film of your heart, just between you and God, nobody else, you expose that to God. Here it is. And then God wipes it away. And the next time the enemy reminds you of your failure, say, you know what? God looked at my film and He can't find a sinking thing. There's nothing there. That's how grace works. So we're going to close in prayer here in just a second. Whatever that image is, whatever the stuff you're wrestling with, whatever that stuff might be, we're going to show it to God. You can pray right where you're at. You can turn around and kneel down at your seat. You can come down and pray with one of our prayer partners. Either way, whatever you're carrying in, whatever mistakes that you're harboring, light does not expose you. The light sets you free. Jesus has stepped to the mouth of wherever your stuff is buried, and He's calling your name. I've heard people say that Jesus said Lazarus because He didn't want everybody that was dead to raise up. No, Jesus said Lazarus because He wanted him to know, I'm talking to you specifically. I think He's calling your name to come out of whatever that you have hidden so that He can fix it. Okay, you ready? Let's pray.